Shannon Grosse coming up.
Hi, my name's Shannon. I'm a Philly poet, but tonight I'm going to do something slightly different, like the brother of poetry, Microfiction. So, transcendentalists, guys like Thoreau, who go to the woods and they got it, they understood. I wrote this microfiction about the rot of transcendentalism. It is called Allelopathy, a process that describes how plants communicate with each other through the chemicals in their roots. It was 6:43 a.m. and 14 degrees in Greensboro. Half a cigarette shivered between his lips. Ash snowed from the cherries, the only light in the forest beside the soft dawn moon. Winter break started last week, so his friends decided to take a tour of local breweries throughout Vermont. He liked beer well enough, but he wanted to connect with nature around here. The trees were monstrous. He invited his friends on his early hike, but was met with a barrage of booze from the crowd of drunken sophomores, piled on top of each other like a mountain of dirty laundry. Lonely, he watched his sighs turn to smoke as he waited for the sun to wake the trees. He twisted the cigarette butt beneath his boot and sparked another. Where were the great minds he thought he would meet at college? Where were the Emersons, the Whitmans, the Thoreaus? Where were the men who were drunk on the grandeur of nature and knowledge? He thought of the trees who lived quiet, unknowing lives. These maples had grown for centuries, yet knew nothing about their own existence. Blissfully unaware of all the ways humans exploited forests for their own needs, the trees just kept growing, simple and innocent. That was what he strived to be, like a tree. As the sky opened the morning, he wandered around the forest, dropping cigarettes in his footprints and searching for a comfortable place to watch the sunrise. Despite the cold, he was determined to unearth his Walden moment before surrendering to the cabin. It was hard trying to connect with nature when there was nothing around for miles but trees and snow. Suddenly, he tripped on something protruding from the ground. He swatted his hand around in the snow and felt the rough, wet bark of a root. Shocked by his collapse, he skulked cautiously around the massive tree. Annoyed with this morning, he lit a fresh cigarette. A few yards ahead, a sweet aroma wafted around him in a warm, gradual fog. Assuming it was sap leaking from the trees, he kept walking. In the distance, he spotted a massive sugar maple with what appeared to be a door carved into its bark. As he inched closer to the tree, the air thickened with heat and fumed cinnamon and cloves. He sidled forward until he could make out a doorknob, which looked like it was crafted by a master glass blower. Gilded patterns of leaves and sugar fruit embellished the amber handle. This was it. The forest opened itself to him. This was his moment of transcendence. He stepped up to the door, breathing in its gray, brittle bark. He gripped the doorknob and immediately noticed it was scorching and viscous. He could not let go, and it was getting hotter by the second. The burning sap began to scald his hand. He desperately tried to unclench his fingers, but there was no hope. He was stuck. Help! Someone! Help me! What's going on? Who's doing this? This isn't fucking funny! The soft flesh of his palms curdled against the searing doorknob. He pulled as hard as he could, but his efforts were futile. Small patches of skin ripped off his hands, but he was stuck. Hey! Someone! Anyone! Help me! His eyes snapped open to see his full sleeve of flame, a cigarette butt wedged between his elbow and the thick root of the tree he leaned against. He didn't remember laying down, let alone falling asleep. Immediately diving into the snow, he flailed his arms, sobbing. The fire eventually ceased. He was sweating and freezing. The air reeked of burnt flesh and lumber. His skin was bloodied and blistered. Surrounded by silence, he stared at the boundless ocean of trees before him and realized he was not alone. Thank you very much, and go Berkeley!